Hello everyone, welcome to Southern Wreath. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Today I'm making this adorable bee wreath. These are the supplies I'm going to use.
This was kind of the inspiration for this. I got this from Craft Outlet. I thought it was so adorable. It's really thick. And then I also bought this and this when I purchased this, so they would go together. I also have this in a smaller, I think it's 1.5 inch, but I didn't want to use any small ribbon in this one. And then these two ribbons I already have. All of these came from Craft Outlet. This came from Craft Outlet. This came from Michael's. I got my Gorilla Glue, E6000, rotary cutter, my wire cutters for my zip ties, my scissors, my crappy hot glue gun. The wreath frame is from Dollar Tree, and then I've got these pipe cleaners that I got from Hobby Lobby. Any pipe cleaners will work for this wreath. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna start by adding the pipe cleaners to my sign so that way it has time to dry. And I'm just gonna cut away this rope. I don't need it. I really need to get a new stapler or find my stapler. Makes life easier. Can never get this open. But E6000 and hot glue hasn't filled me yet, so I just don't like the hassle of having to wait for it to dry. The stapler, God, I can't remember anything. The stapler's a lot faster. Alright, put a line of my E6000. And I put my pipe cleaner in the E6000. Try to do it evenly as possible. It's not a huge deal. And then I'm just gonna push on my hot glue stick. My trigger broke on my hot glue gun. And then I bought another one and it broke. I guess the tip was too small, I'm not sure. So I bought another one and it takes the big glue stick. So I have to run out of these before I go get more because I don't want to waste these. Alright, so I put one on each crossbar in the center. You end up with 6. And I just put it around there and twist it 3 times. I go over both rings, both center rings. You twist 3 times, it just makes sure it's really secure and it's not going to come undone. So for the outside, I'm just going to pick the crossbar that I ended at. And I'm going to go ahead and add a pipe cleaner here, again twisting 3 times. This time, I'm going to pull this out on the second from the outside ring. And you'll see these pipe cleaners don't line up perfectly. So I just go in between the two, the longest and the shortest. And that's where I'm going to add my next pipe cleaner. You don't have to be perfect. I twist 3 times. I do twist it tightly, but you don't want to twist it so tight that it squeezes together. The Dollar Tree frames really will bend. If you get frames somewhere else, they don't really do that. They're not 14 inches though if you get them somewhere else. And that's what it looks like when it's done. I turn it around to where the pipe cleaner is on the crossbar because that's where I want to add my mesh. And this is 21-inch mesh. I just gather it. Make sure it's kind of even since I'm going to be doing poofs. And then I place it over the pipe cleaner and I'm just going to add my zip tie. I'm only going around the crossbar and then I'll pull it tightly. And I do like to have the zip tie facing up just so the pointy part after you cut it is up so it's not gonna scratch anyone's door. So push this to the back and then I trim it away. And this mesh is so thin. 1, because it doesn't have a lot to it, and 2, because it came from Michael's. But it's wonderful for base wreath bases. So I'm gonna do 12-inch poofs, and I like to use my mat to measure. So you just take your hand and make a C, grab your mesh, and pull to 12. And then you squeeze it and bring it to your pipe cleaner. Twist one and then pull it out. I do that because I used to just twist once and sometimes they would come undone because I'm jerking the wreath around. So I go back to the 1, make a C, pull to 12, and then squeeze and add it. Twist 1, pull out, and fly. And you can make these as perfect as you want. For wreaths, when I add ruffles and lots of ribbon, I like the more jotted out look because once everything's on there, you can still see the yellow. But you can make them as perfect as you want. It's usually simpler with this flimsier mesh to do smaller poofs if you want it to look really perfect. I'm going to go through and finish the outside and I'll be right back. On my last poof, I'm going to be using the pipe cleaners that I started at but I haven't used yet. It does make this pipe cleaner slightly shorter than the others, but it's not enough to, you know, hinder anything else that you're going to add. Okay, and then we're going to move to the inside. I'm going to open all of these pipe cleaners. Just makes it easier. After I add the mesh in, I'm going to pull it to the center and just twist one time. And then continue making my poofs. It's a little bit more difficult to measure from the inside, but if it's off just slightly, it doesn't make a huge difference. I do have a tip. If you ever want to make your center stand up, like the wreaths that people make with the frames that are up higher, you can go back around after you do the one section and just add another on top of each one, and it just raises it, elevates it. I don't find that necessary because once I add everything, I think it looks pretty good. I also don't like using those frames just because of the price. I'd much rather spend $1 than, you know, $5 to $10 depending on where you buy the frames from. I'm going to go around and finish doing the inside. Okay, so for the last poof, I'm going to open the first pipe cleaner and add it on top and then twist it. So that way you have 2 perfect circles on both ends. Alright, pull the mesh out, trim it away, and see I only used half a roll, so I still have half left. If I wanted to make another wreath, I would have enough to make another base. So I'm going to push the mesh to the back and then attach it to the crossbar, just like I did in the beginning. And then pull it tight. I'm going to push the zip tie towards the front and trim away the mesh. There's the poof. I'm going to cut this mesh. This is 10-inch mesh. It's got metallic lines and regular mesh lines. This is called eyelash mesh. It's hard to say. I'm going to cut them at 24 inches. I could technically get away with 25, but 24 inches is fine. And these will be my ruffles. So what I like to do is pull it out to the 24 mark. Then I take my finger and put it on the 1 and I'll pull it to the center. I usually try to pick a section I haven't cut on a lot. I know it says it's a self-healing mat, but I have all kinds of grooves in it. I don't know if I pressed down too hard or what, but it does not heal. So I'm going to go through and cut 14 of these so that I have one for each section. I cut all my pieces of mesh and now I'm going to ruffle them to add them to my wreath. I'm going to put something heavy on the end. This mesh does fray a little bit, so I am going to tuck under the first part and then I just gather it with my finger. So I'm keeping these 2 pinched here and then these hands are the ones that are gathering. This keeps it even as you're pulling through. So when you get towards the center of the mesh, the middle of your mesh roll, your mesh curls really severely. So you just want to make sure that you keep it flat as you're ruffling, and that's why I put something heavy on it. So I try to pinch it where I'm centered, and you can kind of see that's not super centered, but that's how you want to add it into your pipe cleaner. So I'm just going to open it up. You can undo the pipe cleaner too if you wanted to. And I'm just going to stick the ruffle in there, and you could do it this way or this way. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever look you want. So I like to start in the center. It doesn't really matter which way you add the mesh. Twist 1 1/2. And then kind of overlap the corners. And there's my ruffle.
I'm just going to show you again real quick how I do the ruffle. I put something heavy on it. I fold under the top part. Then I gather everything in my hand. I leave just enough at the end to tuck under. And that just keeps the fraying down. Then I add it centered into my pipe cleaner. And if you were just adding ruffles, you would twist 3 times. Since I'm adding ribbon, I'm just going to twist 1 1/2 times. And then fluff the mesh over itself.
Now I'm going to show you how to do the outside. I do it the same as the inside. It's just sometimes you have to hold on to the wreath frame, because if you push it, it goes across the table. So I just open my pipe cleaner and I kind of put my pinky right here on the frame. Put this down. And then I press down as I turn, and that keeps everything there. And I twist it. And then I kind of fluff everything against it. Sometimes you have to mess around with the ruffle, but that's what it looks like. I'll finish going around. This is what it looks like when I get all of the ruffles on there. It's so pretty. It's pretty thick. Let's see what it measures. It is about 7 to 8 inches. I think it looks really pretty. I like the pops of yellow, and then I've got tons of yellow in the ribbon. So now I'm going to cut my ribbon. I like to use a piece of cardboard. This is just under 12 inches. And I'm just going to take my ribbon, and I like to fold over just a little piece of it. You don't have to do this. This is just so it doesn't slide down as you're wrapping. And I'm going to twist it around 7 times. I don't count this first one because when I cut it away, so I'm at 1. And you do want to do it pretty tight. Kind of smooth it out as you go. And 7. Alright, I'm going to feed my scissors through. Trim it away. Do the same thing on the other end. And I end up with 7 pieces of ribbon. Beautiful. Now I'll go through and cut the rest. I cut 7 pieces of each of my ribbons, and now I'm going to dovetail the ends. I usually do 2 or 3 at the same time. So you just fold them in half, and then you cut from the wire to the crease, and you do it at an angle. And you can choose how you want the angle to look. And I do it to both sides. There you go. Alright, I'm going to go through and dovetail all of these and sort them the way I want to add them to my wreath. I stacked my ribbon. I decided to do these 2 together because I like the white with the yellow, and then the same with this. This one has tiny white dots. This one has some dots. So all of them have dots except for this one. And here's a little tip. If you have a ribbon that's flimsy, like this one, you see how it's bent? If you put a sturdier one behind it, it helps fluff it when you add it to your wreath. So I just like to make them as even as possible. Fold it in half, crease it, and then at the crease is where I'll pinch, and I usually do like 3. There's 1, 2, 3. And then I will add it into my pipe cleaner. This time I'm twisting 3 times because I'm done adding things. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and, my glue stick and roll down my pipe cleaner. So since I used black pipe cleaners and that matches with this wreath, I don't have to worry about trying to push it to the back and hide it. And then I like to create an X with the ribbon. But you could do, you know, that way and this way, whichever way you want to do it. And I usually alternate, but you could also do one set of ribbons on the inside, one on the outside. You could do all the same ribbons going all the way around, or you can also add more than two. So you can be as creative as you want to be with ribbon. And I'll show you one more time. So take the ribbon, fold it in half, crease in the center, pinch it 3 times, and add it to my pipe cleaner. And you don't have to use a glue stick to roll down your pipe cleaners. You could just tuck them around to the back. You could cut them off, or you could also just use like a pencil or even your finger. Alright, so this time I chose to do the X in this particular way because I put the yellow on top, because I usually pull it this way, because I wanted the yellow to be opposite this. Just a little contrast. Alright, I'm going to go through and finish the inside. You set up your ribbon the exact same way. The only difference is when you fluff it. I do it slightly different. And I'll turn and show you in just a second once I get it added in here. Because the ribbon on the outside tends to be sideways. Like these are flat and these are on their side. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of straight across and then it comes out. And this keeps these from overlapping. You can overlap them if you want. You could even cut your ribbons longer if that's the look you're going for. Personally, I like all of the ribbon to shine as much as possible so you can see it. I added on my ribbons. Now I have to figure out if I want to put my sign right here with a bow up here. I think that's what I'm gonna do. He's so cute. All right, I'm gonna make a bow. I'm just gonna use the same ribbons to make my bow, and I think I want to do a black ribbon on the back for the base, just because there's so much yellow in the wreath. I'm just gonna fast forward making the bow. I will link to my recent bow video here so you can see in detail how I make it, but I'm not gonna make y'all watch me make the whole bow. The way I fluff my bow is I hold it by the pipe cleaner and kind of around the base so you don't move it too much. And I start from the back and make my way forward. So I like to pull my tails out of the way. You can either hold them behind you with the pipe cleaners, and that way you've got a really good grip. I don't really want to crinkle my ribbon, so I'm just going to pull it down. And then I separate. So you put your hand in and you just spread your fingers, and that's how you fluff your bow. I just want to make sure they look good. If you use 1.5 inch ribbon, instead of dovetailing it, you can like spiral it up. It's really pretty. Alright. Now I'm gonna add my bow and my sign. I'm going to add everything. So I really want this bow to sit on top like that, so I think I'm gonna add some pipe cleaner to that to make it longer. So I had these leftover half pieces from my curl wreath that I just made, and I wanted to show you how I add them to the pipe cleaner. So I start with making an X, and then I twist like 3 times, and then what's left over I pull up the pipe cleaner and just wrap it around. And this I find is the best way to get it from coming undone. It kind of creates like a lock, and I've never had one come undone from this. So this made them a lot longer, so I can feed them all the way to the base and attach it to the frame. So I just like to pull apart the mesh until you can see the bottom, and then just push it through to the back. I'm going to try to show you the back, I just don't want to lay down the bow. Alright, so I want to pull until I'm comfortable with the way it's sitting. Alright, and now I'm just going to twist it. And then wrap it around the frame. Now I'm just going to go through and fluff my bow, pull out my tails. And then you can kind of twist it around where you want it. Alright, I'm going to attach my sign. I think right here. I'm just going to fluff my ribbon out, make sure it's showing pretty and even. So I usually take the pictures right after I finish, that way I don't have a chance to squish anything. So if you're not like me and you know what you're going to do before you make your wreath, then you don't have to put ribbon underneath your sign and your bow. It's kind of wasteful, but a lot of the times when I go into this, I just know what materials I have, and then I kind of just go with it by what it looks like. I've tried to do it the other way where I plan out the entire thing, and sometimes I do it, but most of the time I end up completely changing my mind. So it's easier to just kind of do it all first and then decide what I'm going to do. But that's it. That's how I made my bumblebee wreath with my cute gnome. If y'all have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for watching, and if y'all learned anything today or like my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.